Right. Good afternoon. My name is Sean Patterson. I'm here with Fernando Angulo. Yeah, okay.
Oh, thank you.
We both represent SEMrush. It's a multinational business intelligence firm specialized in providing digital marketers with the tools that are necessary to allow you to make smarter, data-driven decisions to reduce costs and to reach the target customer faster. So we, it's summertime in the UK, not so much here, but in other parts of the UK, it's summertime, and people are thinking about what are they going to do in the summertime? They're going to travel. And so we thought about this, and we thought, well, let's do a presentation about traveling. So one of the things that we found is that in terms of people and their travel plans, within the UK, they wanted to go to London. So our search results indicated that London was the most popular tourist destination, followed by Edinburgh. Incidentally, Manchester's third. So I guess maybe some people need to do a bit of marketing in Manchester to kind of get the numbers up there. But outside of the UK, we were kind of surprised by some of the results. For example, Paris ranked #1, which is maybe not so unexpected, but Barcelona came in at a close second. Dubai and Amsterdam third and fourth, but some of the I have to admit, I'd never heard of Fuerteventura or Benidorm, so I think that the diversity is pretty good in terms of what British people are doing with their summers. But then we got to thinking, well, what about people who are looking to go to the UK? So we discovered that Germans were the country that is most interested in going to the UK. So they're looking for, as you might expect, they want to go to Edinburgh, London. The French, same thing. The Spanish, though, not so interested in London. They want to go to Cambridge. I have no idea why, but I'd love some insight on that if anyone has some. And the Italians are also pretty keen on the UK, as it turns out. In terms of how are they doing searches for these travel plans, we found that there are some interesting indications that some websites might be doing mobile a little bit better. So for example, if you look at EasyJet, for example, in the middle, you see they've got a pretty equal parity between desktop searches and mobile searches. And we think that probably has something to do with the fact that they have a pretty good mobile website. On the other hand, you have Booking.com, which doesn't have such a, if I may say so, mobile website, and people are using their site to search for UK vacations from the desktop. So kind of some interesting insights there. But in terms of paid versus organic, we want to talk today with you about paid and organic. And so we thought we would look and see how these top websites are getting traffic. And it turns out that TripAdvisor is really good at doing SEO. That's why they have a score of 4720. And they're actually pretty aggressive when it comes to paid advertising as well. Nonetheless, moving on, you've seen these statistics, and you're probably wondering, how are the players in this industry using digital marketing to generate revenue? And I'm going to continue with the next part of the presentation in terms of search engine marketing before Fernando finishes with search engine optimization. And what I mean by search engine marketing is that we're talking about how we as marketers use our dollars to generate traffic to our website for immediate impact. In other words, we're talking about paid advertising, SEO being more of a long-term strategy, albeit a more cost-effective one. And I certainly would not want you to think that our organization, that your organization needs to focus all of the available resources on one or the other. We find at SEMrush that SEO and SEM really go hand in hand. But to focus on search engine marketing for a minute, I want to talk about 3 areas. First, I want to talk about how to become a master in search engine marketing using SEMrush tools, which will save you both time and money. And I want to point out, by the way, that I don't expect that by the end of the presentation you're going to become an expert. I'm only trying to introduce this topic and encourage you to explore the tool further so that you can begin to realize how it works. So I've got 3 goals. Goal 1, I'm going to show you how to perform keyword research for paid search campaigns. Goal 2, I'll demonstrate the process by which you can update, group, and manage your keywords, optimizing cross-group negatives. Goal 3, I'm going to show you how to leverage your competitors' ideas, and I'll show you how to create your own ads via competitors' ads analysis. So, copywriter's block begun, moving on. As I mentioned before, I'll be covering 2 competitors in the travel industry. One site, no doubt, knows about the other. It's an industry giant, Airbnb, and I'd be willing to bet that Airbnb, on the other hand, isn't spending a whole lot of time getting to know the other company that we're profiling, Agriturismo. Now, Agriturismo, or rather Airbnb, has only been around a few years. Same thing with Agriturismo, but it's a little hard to think of them as anything but an established player. But relatively speaking, they are. Agriturismo is a small firm. It's based in Italy. It's carving out a niche in a fledgling industry, which is agritourism. Now, I wonder, how many people have heard of agritourism? Is there anyone in the audience? Because I hadn't until a week ago. And I think it's kind of an interesting area. To me, though, spending a vacation on a farm seems more like punishment. So I was thinking about this time when my parents sent me to my grandparents' farm in Indiana one summer. It wasn't a vacation to me, but there are plenty of people, it seems, that are interested in agritourism. But I'll save that story for later. But these websites, just to have a quick look at them and analyze them, they both look pretty professional, but there are a couple of things that I'd like to point out as being different. One, Airbnb has a lot of negative space, and they're using the space in the website, I think, quite effectively. They're also doing a couple of other things differently to increase conversions. The first is that they're focused more broadly. So, for example, they are focused on experiences. And in fact, you can see there in the first line, they're not just talking about hotels and homes that you can rent, but they're saying for £64 you can enjoy an afternoon in a boat drinking wine in Barcelona. And judging by our previous information, I'm not surprised at all to see this, because we know that Brits like to go to Barcelona. Agriturismo, on the other hand, is a little bit different in the sense that it is really truly focused on agritourism, but it's only focused within Italy. So everything around their site is very specific. And that might be an area where they could take a cue from Airbnb to offer some experiences. Nonetheless, before we get too deep into the woods, I want to give you some idea of just how different these websites are in terms of paid search volume. Our research indicates that in terms of the number of keywords bringing users to these 2 websites via Google's paid search results, Airbnb has a pretty advanced strategy. They bid on a hefty 58,000 keywords. Agriturismo, on the other hand, is only bidding on 24. And that's a pretty clear indication that they have no plan in place. So, to give you some idea, Airbnb is spending 1,941 times as much money on paid search than Agriturismo. So that's pretty stunning, and this is certainly an area where Agriturismo needs help, If any of you are digital marketing consultants, perhaps you want to reach out to them. Now, SEMrush offers various options for obtaining the most comprehensive list of keywords, and the first one is to take a look at our competitor's strategy, which is why we developed the domain analytics tool. It assists in performing competitive research and finding the gaps in your competitors' strategies, which you can then use to develop a better campaign and outperform the competition. So let's see what you can do with domain analytics. Domain analytics is the perfect place to analyze all of the data that SEMrush has for domains, subdomains, and URLs. In our stats page, you can see that our database currently contains over 400 million domains. That's a pretty staggering number. I didn't even realize there were 400 million domains out there. But it's a pretty comprehensive database, and it's one where you can use the information to discover more about your competitors' organic research, backlinks, advertising research, PLA research, video advertising, and traffic analytics. So let's look at Airbnb's top competitors. You'll see a few big names here, like TripAdvisor, Trivago, and Booking. You'll also see a lot of smaller, aggressive players trying to encroach on their paid search. And you'll see that, again, Airbnb has a far more advanced search traffic and paid words campaign than their competitors. Now, and take a different look, this time at Agriturismo. And thinking back to Airbnb, we see that there are a couple of mutual competitors, notably TripAdvisor and Booking. And we can also conclude that that they are not at all competitive in search, judging by the fact that they're placed in the far bottom left corner of the chart. So it looks like Agriturismo needs a lot of help. Now, in addition to domain analytics, SEMrush allows you to explore your competitors' ads. And this includes the history for particular keywords, and it allows you to see the content of those ads for the past year. So the ad history report that SEMrush offers will display the keywords that your competitors are ranking for, as well as search volume, CPC, and quite a few other metrics. After this data, though, you'll see that the months of the year are listed, and along with a number in a blue box. And what that number indicates is it represents the domain's ranking for that keyword for the given month. Now, if they were not ranking for a keyword in a particular month, you'll see a white box, which you'll see in the top right-hand corner for Agriturismo. And this is an indication that they're perhaps not running ads at all. And when you look and you see larger numbers, like say you see an average return of 7, like you see for Airbnb, it's an indication that they've probably changed their ad copy, or it might be an indication that they lowered the rate that they're willing to pay in their bid strategy. So moving on, in addition to the domain analytics, SEMrush allows you to explore competitors' ads, including the history for particular keywords. You can see the content of those ads for the previous year. Okay, so here again you can see this big carve-out where you have a number of months at the end of 2016 where Agriturismo stopped advertising altogether. And these are, by the way, on the left, you see their top few most heavily bid keywords. Now, I'd like to show you how SEMrush's tools can be utilized to level the playing field between a behemoth and an SME. So I want to do this by showing you how a digital marketing consultant, perhaps as yourself, might want to approach an online advertising PPC campaign. And specifically, I want to show you how a small firm like Agriturismo can avoid being crushed by a 500-pound gorilla like Airbnb. SEMrush is a business intelligence tool that it has an abundance of search engine optimization tools. But what many don't realize is that we've recently added some pretty advanced tools for PPC. The PPC Keyword Tool is one of the tools that we added to focus on toward how we can build a great list of keywords for paid search and how we can manage those keywords, optimizing for cross-group negatives and duplicate elimination. So SEMrush has the internet's largest database of keywords, as I indicated before, and we allow you to use this enormous database to build a new keyword list for pay-per-click campaigns. So I can use keywords from my competitors by choosing the import keywords here, which you see in the right side of the screen. By clicking Add after selecting SEMrush Import, it takes me to a dialog box where you can see a seed word and then search our phrase and domain reports for a particular database. In this case, you can see that I'm searching the UK database and looking for a phrase match to my seed keyword, which in the middle you see is Airbnb. And as a campaign manager for Agriturismo, this allows me to quickly develop a list of pay-per-click keywords that I can use to compete against the accommodations giant. So now we have a list of 1,000 keywords that we could just directly upload to Google AdWords, but we won't. And there's a good reason for it. It's because our cost per click rate would be driven through the roof if we just uploaded these 1,000 keywords. And it's because the keywords would be competing against each other. So the first step we're going to take with these 1,000 keywords is to whittle them down by removing duplicates. But don't worry, because this is not a complicated task that involves an Excel spreadsheet or something like this. We have a one-click method for making this happen, and it's our Remove Duplicates button, and it takes the headache out of the process with a one-step method. So you can choose the default removal algorithm, and we click Remove Selected, and we instantly see that the list has been reduced to just 608 keywords. So we can rest a little bit easier knowing that we aren't outbidding ourselves with the exact same keywords. Fortunately, though, there's more. Now, who thinks that this Excel spreadsheet looks like a lot of fun? Anybody love spreadsheets? I see one gentleman. All right. So we'll talk later. We can have a powwow about Excel spreadsheets. Most people, though, look at this and they're completely overwhelmed. And ordinarily, after you remove duplicates, you'd take this list of keywords and you put it into this incredibly complicated Excel spreadsheet, and then you'd use pivot tables to weed out the negative keywords. Incidentally, is anyone using pivot tables regularly? No, not, oh wait, no, I say, okay, 1, 2, something. Okay, so they can be a bit of a pain, as I'm sure you can appreciate, although they can also be incredibly useful. But the PPC Keyword Tool offers a second level of cleaning, so it scrubs unnecessary elements of keywords, including articles, interjections, prepositions, conjunctions, and other particular keywords that you probably don't want to have included or to be paying for, such as the word free. So for those PPC specialists who plan to write a separate ad for each and every keyword within the campaign, we developed a feature called Create Groups, one keyword equals one group. And there's another reason that we employ this technique for sorting and organizing keywords. It's because once we've done this, we can leverage the one tool that makes SEMrush truly unique, which is the cross-group negatives function. And our solution for you to click one button in the PPC Keyword Tool to reduce your CPC costs, that button is the cross-group negatives button. And you'll see how this works in the screenshot on screen. The cross-group negative discovery is necessary for finding keywords across different groups and campaigns that can make your ads compete against each other. So you can see in this example, we've discovered 2,266 negative keywords. And I'm quite happy to report that when SEMrush employed this tool on our own PPC campaigns, we saved 15%, or rather we reduced CPC rates by 15%, which, who wouldn't love to save 15%? So it's a very effective tool. But I want to talk about something a little bit creative to close things out. We're almost done setting up our first PPC campaign, but so far we've left out one of the most important, and I think one of the most intuitive steps, which is writing ads that nobody can resist clicking. Fortunately, SEMrush has a tool for that, and that's the ads builder. The ads builder has two functions. One is that the ads research tool allows you to differentiate or imitate your campaign from that of your rivals. The second is that the ads research tool is a tool for creative inspiration. So if we don't find inspiration for our Agriturismo campaign from Airbnb's past campaigns, which we can see here, no worries. You just need to choose a different database or try a different seed keyword and explore some different ideas. So as you can imagine, ads creation is all about imagination. Now let's take a look at our first ad. So we're going to look at our modal window, which has two components. The left one contains all of the components of the future ad, and the right one helps you take a sneak peek into your rival's strategy while you write your own text. Now we've got two options here. We can either create our own entirely from scratch, or you can choose one of your rival's ads that you particularly fancy, and then you can click the plus button, which is the use as template button, and you can auto-populate. So you see here we've auto-populated based on our competition, and then we've made a few changes. In our case, the headline is Book, Farm, Bed and Breakfast, Unique Alternative to Airbnb, so on and so forth. At the bottom left you see the preview of that ad. The other thing that I would point out, though, is that you have the ability to look at your competitors' display advertising. As you're probably aware, Google has two options for paid advertising. One is the search engine PPC, which we've been talking about, but then the other is the display advertising. That's if you want to display ads on other websites, for example, a news publisher. So this is a really great tool because we can take a look at Airbnb. We can see all the ads that they're putting on other websites. We can see how often they're seen. We can see if there are current campaigns or past campaigns. We can even take a look at which countries, in which countries they're running those campaigns. We look, on the other hand, at Agriturismo, and they've only done one ad, which was clearly a test ad, which is evidenced by the number of times seen, which is 2 over 1 day, 4.5 years ago. So not at all exploring their maximum potential when it comes to display advertising, or as I indicated earlier, the search engine advertising. So I think I've given you a few ideas of how you can reduce CPC, get more people going to your website, I would add that this is just one of the components. So I'm going to hand things over to Fernando. He's going to tell you about the other component, which is perhaps even more important.
Thank you, Sean. Well, this seems to be a lot of fun, but let's be honest. What happened if the company, as Agriturismo, honestly, they don't have the budget to compete with Airbnb? And that's what happened with a lot of companies. So that's why we need to talk about, we need to talk about SEO. We need to talk about search engine optimization using the same companies that we have now, Airbnb and Agriturismo. Why is that? Because we can reach the industry leaders. How we can do that? Using tools like SEMrush, using tools that can give you enough information to compete with the leaders. Well, let me show you something. First of all, we have a little list of tools that, in our vision, may help you to reach those leaders. One of them is traffic analytics, keyword research, competitor research, domain versus domain, SEO ideas, backlink ideas. A few months ago, we discovered, we created a research, we made a research based on 100,000 domains to discover what is the correlation between different ranking factors with the amount of keywords, with the amount of backlinks, and I would like to show you some data also here. But let's go with 3 steps. First step first step, learn from your competitors. Now, I don't have the money, I am Agriturismo, but I want to learn about how Airbnb reached the top of the success. Well, I can see here that, honestly, if you can see this piece of the screen, Airbnb, they have the success only a few months ago, well, only a couple of years ago, last year. The success was like this, up and up. Why is that? Because they have a lot of investments, because they have the money. And if you have the money, please, of course, you need to use PPC campaigns. But what happened with our company, our case, Agriturismo? They have reached enough success only the last month. Well, actually, their growing is very, very interesting, but not as Airbnb, of course. And now we know, okay, we don't have enough money as Airbnb. What can we do? Well, first of all, implement HTTPS in all your pages. One of the problems that we found in Agriturismo is that they are not implementing HTTPS. And at the other side, Airbnb, they are using it. Is this an important ranking factor? Google says, no, it's not so important. But we found out in our research that there is a correlation between rankings, as you can see here, and the HTTPS implementation with a lot of websites. 75% of websites that they're implementing HTTPS, they have better rankings. So, is that important? I think yes, as you can see here in our graphic. Another thing is that you can learn about you can learn about where or how they are getting their traffic. For example, traffic sources for Airbnb, traffic sources for Agriturismo. So both companies, they are getting most of the traffic from tourism, and their industry are very related to countries, cities, hotels, and so on. So we have all this information, but the most important thing is not the traffic, it's the quality of the traffic. Because just having traffic is not a very significant ranking factor, because you need to convert that traffic. So we need to understand where are their potential customers. Where are your potential customers? With Traffic Analytics tool, you can see, for example, here that 32 countries are very interested in Agriturismo. At the other side, Airbnb, they have more than 100 countries interested. If you can just filter the first 10, you can see at Agriturismo, they have a lot of visitors from Italy, United States, Germany, also the United Kingdom, France, and Airbnb, well, they have the whole world interested on them. So here I can create a really great example of case on international SEO, implementation of different languages on my webpage, on my site, and I can go for those countries, just changing the language of my websites, for example. Second step, and this is the most interesting part, because if you want to rank for keywords, you need to create content, and that content needs to be very relevant. How we can do that? Well, first, we need to see what is our situation on the desktop organic results and mobile organic results. If we can see here the difference, of course, that little point over there is Agriturismo, the whole world over there is Airbnb in this desktop search results. But the situation is not very similar in mobile organic results, because they have a little more change to compete there. And we need to know how good is the content that we are writing. And we need to have all the metrics, readability, we need to know the length of our content, how many words do I need to have in my content. And we also have a research on that, trying to know the correlation between the length of the content and the rankings. It is important how long is need to be my content? Well, yes. There is a little bit of correlation. Well, there's a great correlation between the first ranking positions and the length of the content. So for those websites who are competing with higher keywords, with higher volume, the content should be more than 1,700 words, as you can see here, to get the better results. So yes, the length of content really matters. Another thing that you need to know is how many links do I have in my content, linking to my content. So we can find that, yes, link building also matters. The difference is huge here. The correlation between links and rankings is high, it's really high. So you need to have a lot of links. Link building really matters to create, to have better rankings. And of course, if we're talking about what's the best content you have, you need to understand that you are already on the internet, you already have pages online. You need to work on those pages because you already have some rankings. And as you can see here, this feature is called Pages on SEMrush tools, and you can see how many pages and what's the traffic that all those pages are receiving from keywords. And you need to work those pages that are really working very well for your industry. Also, the last part, you need to be part of the industry. You need to learn about what's happening in your market, in your niche. How we can do this? Well, first of all, we created a tool, a feature called Sensor. Sensor can tell you how Google algorithm is changing every day in every industry. For example, here you can see the travel industry and the SERP volatility, how is constantly, every day is changing. So the ranking are also changing because Google is trying to give better results to the final users, to the end user. And if something's happening in the industry, for example, the news industry, the search algorithm is changing like every day. Every day is giving you different kind of results. And we need to understand the structure of those results. And here we can show you how it's changing and exactly which parts of the SERPs are changing. If they're changing the SERP features, for example, site links, images, or tweets, reviews, video, all these features has changed in the last 24 hours. For example, like we have here for the tourism industry, the reviews are very important. This SERP feature is really important for tourism pages to have better results for those companies. But Google is changing a lot those results who are related to reviews. Also, when you are creating your own niche as Agriturismo, you have a pack of keywords that really matters to you. A pack of keywords as Agriturismo Italy, Agriturismo Toscana, Agriturismo, and so on. They have 45 keywords that really matter to their industry. And in that small market that they have created, they are not the first one, they are the second. So they are really not so big as Airbnb in the whole market of tourism, but in their niche, they are one of the leaders because they were creating something that is really new. And if you can see here, Airbnb is the first one, Agriturismo is the second one in those in that context. So we can see here, Agriturismo is in the second place, and we can see Airbnb as the overall leader. But they have changed. They have a chance to be the leader, not with budget doing PPC stuff, but with SEO growing organically every single day. And also, another fact, this is not a ranking factor actually, but this is a great push for the audience, is to create a community. If you can compare your community, even these kind of metrics, audience, activity, and the most important, engagement, how you're engaging your community with the creativity that you are promoting around your web, that's going to be something very interesting. For example, here we can see how small is Agriturismo in audience, how small is Agriturismo in engagement, but they are doing exactly the same thing and even better than Booking.com, for example. They are really getting more engagement than Booking.com on Facebook. So they're still having some hope to be better in the future. And if they're creating a community, they have the chance to be even better in the nearest future. So what? Well, we need to look for the opportunities to be better, to get more rankings. First of all, we need to understand the content that we are producing, and that content needs to be needs to be sufficiently long enough to contrast your competitors. So you need to understand the data that you're receiving from tools like SEMrush, for example. Another important thing, is that you need to understand that your competitors, they are not creating the same content as you. You need to be better on that. The content for SEO is really important. It's really matters. Another thing here, link building. As we saw the first slide, link building is a very important ranking factor. It still is a very important ranking factor. So you need to learn better ways, to understand better ways to get your links. Another thing, at the beginning we saw that Agriturismo, they don't have any HTTPS implementation. You cannot rank higher if you don't have HTTP implementation. We have understood that, but they didn't. So please implement HTTPS in your website. And well, we have a great research here on ranking factors. There are like 65 pages. If you want to download it, it's free for all. And thank you. That's it for our SEMrush presentation today.